Hi, everyone, and welcome to this order briefing of EHI, this time on Ecodesign and Energy Labeling. Today, well, as the title indicates, we will give you we hope, a comprehensive overview of the energy label and eco-design framework, where we are now. And we will deep dive a bit more into the issue of market surveillance, how that can be improved to make effective implementation of those rules. And for that, we will have our expert in-house, Veerle Beelaerts, giving you a good overview of the eco-design, and we'll have a discussion with, we have two guests. So we have Philippe Rivière, Policy Officer from the Directorate-General on Energy at the European Commission in the unit that is in charge of eco-design, the Building and Products unit. And we will have Franz Zach, who is Senior Expert Energy Economics at the Austrian Energy Agency, and is also the consortium leader for a project, EHI. As EHI, we are also part in the compliance service project that is indeed aiming at improving the understanding of the eco-design and the energy label framework for those that are working on it, for the market actors that are working on it. So we hope we will have a good discussion. You will have a presentation first, and then a discussion with our guests. We will have therefore a Q&A where you can ask questions both in the chat and by just raising your hand. Please note that this workshop is recorded. So if you stay in the room, you accept that will be recorded and then published on our channels. Without further delay, then I will give the floor to my colleague Veerle, and hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Monica. So I have the pleasure to first introduce you a bit to the topic of eco-design and energy labeling. I need to warn you, if you are an expert on the topic, then this part might be a bit redundant, but since we invited not only the experts on eco-design and energy labeling, but also those who might not know a lot about the topics, we thought it might be useful to first give a sort of general introduction of what eco-design and energy labeling are, and then go a bit deeper into how that applies to space and water heaters, the products that we focus on, and then finishing off with a couple of items on market surveillance. So please bear with me, those who know the topic through and through. I try to simplify it as much as possible to make it understandable for everyone. But obviously, I mean, if you have any questions to me as well in the Q&A at the very end of the event, you can also ask me, obviously, or in written as well. So there we go. First, this presentation. Next slide, please. And next slide. Next slide. So this is the general part on what eco-design and energy labeling is. So first of all, I would like to inform you, if you didn't know this already, but eco-design and energy labeling are product policies. So they apply to products and make sure, or they aim to improve the environmental impact that products have on, that the products have. Originally, eco-design and energy labeling focused mainly on energy efficiency, but nowadays, with the last review of the eco-design framework, the focus has also shifted a bit. Well, not shifted really, but a lot of attention is also given to other parameters in the sustainability realm. Maybe first a bit on eco-design. So eco-design sets minimum requirements. These can include minimum energy efficiency requirements, could be sustainability criteria, for example, tracking of substances of concern. It could be functional requirements, like, for example, the unit needs to be shut off at time X. Could be product information requirements to inform the consumer, the installer, on how to use the product and about the efficiency of the product and the environmental impact of the product. And there could be also circular economy and resource efficiency requirements. These requirements apply directly to the product. So that means that if the product does not fulfill those requirements, it can no longer be placed on the market anymore. So it cannot leave the factory, it cannot be imported, it can be sold still. If it was already, for example, at a dealer's office, someone can still keep on selling it. But the manufacturer cannot move it out of its factory anymore. So it cannot, I mean, placing on the market is a quite difficult concept. So I'm trying to simplify it here. Just bear in mind that this is a bit broader than what I'm explaining to you now. But just for simplification purposes, let's say that the manufacturer cannot move the product anymore outside of the factory, or an importer cannot import the product anymore into the European market. These eco-design requirements, although they apply to the product, someone needs to be responsible for making sure that the products comply with those. And those people who need to make sure that we are compliant are the manufacturers or the importers, or if there's no manufacturer, for example, in the EU, it could be a representative of a non-EU manufacturer in the EU. Then the energy label. The energy label is complementary to eco-design in that it does not set any minimum criteria that the product needs to fulfill, but rather gives information to the consumer about the environmental impact of the product. The energy label still very much focuses on the energy efficiency with a very colorful scale. I made an attempt to show you this here on the left side of the slide. That scale, I mean, with the last review of the energy labeling framework, now goes from A to G, A being the most efficient product on the market, G the least efficient product. The energy label next to energy efficiency can also contain additional information points that will then be on the bottom of that product. Probably you've all seen an energy label already. For example, when you buy a new dishwasher or washing machine, it is usually on the product or next to the product in the shop. So probably you have noticed this already. The energy label, I mean, needs to be on the product or next to the product at the point of sales. I mean, this is where you should see it. And there are also some product information requirements related to this. And since the new update of the energy labeling framework, these product information requirements can be found in a database. And anyone, at least there's a part of the database that anyone can access. This database is called the EPRO database, and you can access it from the Commission's websites. The persons who are responsible for the energy labeling are, again, the same people. So the manufacturer, importer, authorized representative for making the energy label and making sure that the information is correct on the energy label. But then it's the dealer who needs to show that energy label at the point of sales. Next slide, please. So now that we all have an understanding of what eco-design and energy labeling is, I wanted to show you a bit since when we started working on policies that improve the energy efficiency of products. And here I focus on the energy efficiency because that was the original purpose of eco-design and energy labeling. And here, I mean, what we can see is that from 1992 there were already energy labeling regulations available. There was an energy labeling for household appliances, and also energy efficiency measures for boilers already existed in the Boiler Efficiency Directive. It's only since 2005 that we have a real eco-design framework, and this was originally for energy using products, so products that consume energy themselves. This was then expanded in 2009 to energy-related products, so not necessarily products that use energy themselves, but also products that make sure that other products use more energy. For example, like windows, like badly insulated windows will make sure that your heating appliances use more energy. So this is typically an energy-related product. And I mean, in 2010, we stepped away from the 1992 energy labeling for household appliances to a new framework, which was for energy-related products. So that's the first, more modern energy labeling framework that existed. This was then modernized in 2017, and in 2024, was it 2024 or 2023? Sorry, I'm a bit confused here. We will make sure that it's corrected. We have an update of the Ecodesign framework, and this is what I mentioned before. So originally the focus was more on energy efficiency, but with this update of the Ecodesign framework, the requirements expanded to non-energy requirements, including resource efficiency, circularity, sustainability requirements, but also the scope of products expanded. So from energy-related products to, in principle, any product that could be placed on the market. Now we've seen this history, let's dive into the next slide, where I am giving you a bit of an overview of what type of products are included. So in principle, there are many products that are regulated by Ecodesign and Energy Labeling. This is an overview. I will not go into detail here. The red frames are to show you those that only have an Ecodesign requirement, so where there's no energy labeling requirements. In principle, we have cooking appliances that are covered, cleaning and drying appliances, heating, cooling, and ventilation appliances. Next slide. We also have tires and light sources. Then we have business-to-business products and electronic products. And here you see some other frames around the products. So the green one is Ecodesign only, and the blue one is a voluntary agreement, meaning that it's not a legislative file, but more a voluntary agreement among manufacturers to comply with certain requirements. Next slide, please. Yes, these, I also wanted to show you, when I was saying that with the new update of the Ecodesign framework regulation, we also saw new products in the scope. This is an idea of what products will be tackled next. So there are new final products like textiles, furnitures, and mattresses, so not energy related at all. Intermediate products like iron and steel and aluminium, and also more focused on horizontal requirements in view of circularity and sustainability. Next slide, please. This is the final slide that I wanted to show on the general idea of eco-design before diving into heating and the heating products. I just wanted to show you that, this is an image that I got from the European Commission's website to show you how much energy savings we have done with eco-design, or what is estimated that eco-design and energy labeling policies have brought to Europe. And we're at 1,072 terawatt hours primary energy. Obviously, a number like this might not say a lot, but if you look at into final energy consumptions of countries, then it's almost half of the final energy consumption of Germany. So that is a lot that has been saved because of this, or thanks to these policies. And now I will dive a bit more into heating appliances. So the heating appliances that I will cover here are hydronic ones, space heaters and water heaters, because obviously that's the focus of our association. So I need to go into that topic a bit deeper, obviously. So first of all, I wanted to show you a little timeline as well. So as I said earlier, the Boiler Efficiency Directive, which set the first requirements for boilers, started in 1992. Then we had a real eco-design and energy labeling regulations that were published in 2013 and started to apply in 2015. And now we are expecting a review of the Ecodesign and Energy Labeling regulations for these space and water heaters, hopefully to be published in 2026. And hopefully Philippe will be able to tell us a bit more about that later. But for now, it's still a bit of a question mark on the exact timing of the process. Next slide, please. Here I wanted to dive a bit into the content of the Ecodesign and Energy Labeling policies for space heating, particularly. So first on the energy label. So when this energy label was set in place, there were big discussions going on whether this energy label should, inform consumers about the most efficient product within a certain category. And what I mean here is the most efficient boiler, the most efficient heat pump, the most efficient micro cogeneration unit, but not necessarily the most efficient technology. The second option was to have an energy label that made the differentiation between the technologies. So is a boiler more efficient than the heat pump? But within a category, I mean, it's not possible to have a lot of differentiation because we only have 7 energy efficiency classes for all the products. In the end, it was decided to have an energy label where all products would end up in. This means that this energy label was really meant to show the consumer, look, you have a boiler in your house, or you are looking at replacing your heating installation. So let's see what the most efficient option is. If you're looking at the boiler, please be informed that the heat pump is more efficient, but it did not necessarily show you that the boiler that you were choosing was less efficient than the boiler, another boiler. On the Ecodesign side, we had energy, well, we still have, because this is still the regulations, these are still the regulations that apply today. We have minimum energy efficiency requirements per technology for space heating. For water heating, that was 1 efficiency requirement for all. Then we have maximum nitrogen oxide emissions and sound emissions and information requirements. I wanted to highlight one aspect in particular on the energy efficiency requirements. They were set as such that non-condensing boilers could not be placed on the market anymore in most of the cases. And if you move to the next slide, I can show you how we see Ecodesign on the market and what we saw that happened there. So the Ecodesign regulation was published in 2013, but it started to apply in 2015. And you can clearly see here on the bottom of the figure where you see the frame with the word ban on top, big effects. For all the other products, and the products that we're looking at here, so the green is the red are the gas non-condensing boilers. So you see a big step downwards in the use of non-condensing boilers here. So we see that the restrictions of non-condensing boilers, if you look at the purple, which are the condensing boilers, mainly resulted in benefits for condensing boilers. Why is that? It's because that the price difference between the condensing and non-condensing boilers was, well, not very low, but reasonable. And because, you could find a product that used the same fuel. So it was clear that when the efficiency went up, the fuel cost went down. So the running cost for the consumer was less. So there was a clear financial benefit for consumers when this happened, and therefore all actors were on board. So when I say actors, I mean from the energy system to the installers and even including the consumers. Next slide, please, because here I wanted to show you another effect that we see of the energy label, or maybe not see of the energy label. It's not another effect, but this is the effect of the energy label. So while we see a clear effect on the market, on the sales data for Ecodesign, the energy label is not that clear. Obviously, we see a gradual increase of heat pump sales, which is the orange on top. And then from 2019 onwards, we see bigger steps in the increasing amount of heat pump sales, and 2024 a bit less, but at least we see a more bigger step. according to us, this is not necessarily related to energy labeling, but rather the political attention to, the publication of the Green Deal, member states who set in place financial support. So very often when we see political support combined with financial support, then we see the uptake of heat pumps growing. Another important factor here in 2022, we had the energy crisis where the energy cost was for heat pumps became lower, so there was a clear benefit for the consumer to buy heat pumps, and this is also reflected in those sales data. Next slide, please. Now, up until now, I explained you a bit about the Ecodesign and Energy Labeling for heating appliances that we currently have to comply with. But as I said in the beginning, there is a review ongoing and the Commission is preparing something new. And I wanted to show you a bit, at least, the things that we think might happen. So at the first, on the left side, we see the energy label here. We originally had an A++ to G label. This is being changed to an A to G label. So as all the other products that fall newly under the new framework. The A label needs to be empty at the start of application, and then it will be followed by electric heat pumps. The classes below, hybrids, thermally driven heat pumps, and micro CHPs, there's still a bit of unclarity where exactly they will end up in. And obviously, since the file is not finalized yet, the preparation of the file is not finalized yet, it can all change again. And in class F, we have the condensing boilers. If I understood correctly, there will also be a requirement for the installer to show the energy label to the consumer, since heating appliances are not necessarily products that are being sold in a shop, but rather directly by the installer when he installs the appliances. It is, it might be important that the installer shows that energy label before the consumer buys the appliance. On the Ecodesign side, what is currently being proposed, or as far as we understood from the Commission, is a scope expansion from the current 400 kilowatt to 1000 kilowatt. So the bigger appliances will be newly into the scope. Then there will be also newly, at least for appliances that are not boilers, a third-party conformity assessment for the space heating efficiency, so for the efficiency requirements. There will be a requirement for products to monitor and show their energy consumption. There will be extended requirements on the spare part availability and the access to information to repair. And then some product-specific requirements. Boilers will need to be able to modulate, so they will need to be able to adapt to the heating needs of the consumer, and the heat pumps will need to be tested without the manufacturer's intervention. As said, this is all very draft. This is based on, the last draft that we saw in 2023, plus some additional information that we've gotten in the meanwhile. Nothing is set in stone yet. We are waiting for the consultation to start. I hope Philippe can give us a bit more information at a later stage on when he expects this to start, if he can, obviously. But this is at least our take on what might come up. Next slide, please. And now we go into the second part, which is a bit of a deep dive on market surveillance. And here, obviously, without a proper market surveillance, the energy savings that I showed you earlier from, the big round cartwheel that I showed on an earlier slide will not be achieved, but it will also lead to unfair competition, because those manufacturers who want to comply or who comply today invest a lot of resources into compliance, and if then non-compliant products come to the market not being checked or being sold in other member states when they are found non-compliance for one member state, then that leads to an unfair competition. And obviously, when we then look at the consumer and, you know, the products are not compliant, the consumers might lose trust in those products. So it is important for us as an industry that, I mean, compliance is being improved. And for this purpose, we're going to have a little discussion with Philippe Rivière and Franz Zach. Next slide, please, Marine. And I'm going to first introduce you to the speakers. Philippe Rivière, he holds a master's degree in engineering and a doctoral degree in energy, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I'm not correct there. He was an associate professor from 2008 to 2021, where he also worked with the Commission already as a consultant on eco-design and energy labeling policies. Since 2021, he moved to the Commission and works as a policy officer at the Directorate-General for Energy, where he works on eco-design and energy labeling policies for heating appliances, including those for space and water heating appliances. The second speaker is Franz Zach. He holds a master's degree in technical physics and a doctoral degree in life sciences. Since 2009, he works at the Austrian Energy Agency, where he focuses on eco-design and energy labeling policies. In his role, he advises the Austrian Ministry on ongoing drafting of eco-design and energy labeling policies, and he also works in projects. As an example, he's working currently, as Monica already said, on an EU-funded project, a live project, which is called Compliance Services, which he will talk about a bit later with you. With this being said, I would like to invite Philippe and Franz to switch on the cameras, microphones, because we are going into the discussion part of the event. Hi, Philippe, and hi, Franz.
Hello.
So maybe,
good morning.
Good morning. So maybe to kickstart, Philippe, I have a question for you. So we saw on the slide that eco-design and energy labeling policies resulted in very high energy savings, or at least an estimated high energy savings. And that also reduced, obviously, the energy bills of consumers. In your opinion, I mean, with any of the next revisions, not only for heating, but also for other appliances, do you think there are still a lot of energy savings to be achieved? Or do you think that, you know, the other requirements like sustainability, circular economy will become more important?
Yes, thank you, Veerle, for the question. So I very much like your presentation, which was quite complete. And I saw also I was happy to see that the global savings that you show were above 1,000 terawatt-hours. So this is, I think, a 22 figure. So if you compare that to the EU consumption in primary energy, it's about 7%. But just because of these policies are already in place and there are more products sold, it will increase in time these effects, and so this will go up to 10 or 13% in 2030. So it's anyway getting bigger because of the time effect. But it's true that for some products we are a bit at the end of the potential. I think that maybe for fridge we are close to the end of what we can reach when we are on A label. But it's definitely not the case for space heater and water heaters, because if we change from boilers to heat pumps, or from electric water heater to heat pump water heaters, we have big savings there. And so there is still a huge potential, especially as these products are among the largest energy consumer overall for these products that are covered by Ecodesign and Energy Labeling. So still a lot to do, but it's true that it's uneven depending on the product lots.
Thank you, Philippe. And then maybe, I mean, diving a bit more into the market surveillance side, So obviously, I mean, all of the energy savings and all the savings that we're talking about can only be achieved when there's good enforcement of the regulations. So I know that the Commission is doing a lot to try and improve market surveillance. We had a consultation forum on market surveillance, I think on the 30th of September, and I believe it was already the 2nd of the year. So also for DG Energy, market surveillance for Ecodesign and Energy Labeling policies are receiving a lot more attention than before. But I want to turn to you, Franz, because you are working on one of those initiatives for the Commission, which is called Compliance Services Project. It's an EU-funded project that ensures, or that aims at ensuring better compliance with Ecodesign and energy labeling. Could you explain a bit what this project is trying to do and how it is trying to do this?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present the project. Compliance Services is focusing on information services for the stakeholders. So in contrast to, for example, market surveillance projects, we are, let's say, the soft approach, just informing suppliers and dealers mainly what are the obligations regarding eco-design and energy labeling. So what need suppliers and dealers to know to comply with these regulations? And dealers, I have to say that can be retailers or installers. So when we're looking on space and water heating, this might also be installers. And the problem that we have seen is that many suppliers and dealers, they have so many regulations to care for, and the texts are not always so easy to read, and there are mixed obligations, suppliers and dealers, and so on. And what we are trying is to deliver the information in as easy way as possible and focused on the specific stakeholders. So we tell suppliers specifically and dealers specifically what they have to do to comply with eco-design and energy labeling. And this information is basically transported via a web portal that is already online and available now. Maybe you can share the link in the chat if you want. You know it as you're also a project member. That would be great. And yeah, there's just to give a brief overview, we have general topics like how to register in April, or what does placing on the market mean. This are only two examples of the general topics that apply basically for every product group in the same way. But we also have materials focused on specific product groups, and we are always focusing on the new regulations so that have been published in the last 2 years. So that's currently tumble dryers, smartphones and tablets, and the eco-design regulation on local space heaters. And on this portal you will find a lot of information on these product groups. And when there are new regulations published, then we will extend our services.
Thank you, Franz. Obviously, I mean, non-compliances that we see do not only, I mean, a lot of it is based on, you know, the wrong interpretation of a legislation, or, you know, a wrong understanding of the legislation, but often it's a little bit more than that. And there's like, I mean, there's intentional non-compliance that we see as well. So what, Philippe, is the Commission doing to ensure that, I mean, intentional compliance problems are being solved as well?
Yeah, so we have a number of activities indeed. I'm not the specialist of the topic in my unit, but I know some of the activities. In particular, we have a regular testing projects working in collaboration with market surveillance authorities. So it means that we have projects where we pick up units and we check both the documentation and that the performance declared are indeed correct. We also try to work on the legislation, to improve the legislation, first at product level. So what you said before for space heater is very important indeed. In that specific case, we according to the study that EHI did, I think in 2022, a consumer survey showing that indeed the label was not very much used for this product. And so this is something we must absolutely correct, because if it's not presented to the end users, then it's indeed useless. So maybe we can try to improve the legislation to make it work better. And overall, market surveillance is a generic issue, is not only linked to eco-design and energy labeling. So there are larger works ongoing to try to improve the market surveillance through the market surveillance regulation revision. And there are also two other pieces of legislation that are being revised that are linked to market surveillance. And yeah, our colleague in DG Grow are leading this review, and I've already presented some first elements of evaluation of the present framework, and possible that also corresponds then to possible measures that could be adopted, but still at the moment just proposal to be further evaluated. But clearly there is a number of issues related to the multiplication of platform of e-commerce that are very difficult to control for market surveillance authorities. They also noted a difficult enforcement of market surveillance, a lack of coordination at national or amongst member states, and also problem with IT tools. So there is a number of proposals on the table now that will be evaluated to try to improve coordination, to make online platform accountable of what they offer, to try to improve the use of digital tools, and also maybe consider to introduce EU level governance in the system, because for now the market surveillance is mostly the responsibility of member states with EU coordination, but yeah, it could be a bit strengthened all of the EU overall. So that's part of the thing that could change or could be improved in the coming years.
Thanks. So we're looking forward to see what that all means, obviously, but I think it's good that it receives a lot of attention. So going back a bit more to the non-compliances that we see. So Franz, you said you look more into informing the stakeholders who need to comply. And Philippe, you said that there are some testing projects going on. Now, Franz, you explained to me that you are also part of the ePliant project, where some testing of appliances are happening. Could you maybe tell us a bit in view of your role there? I mean, what the main non-compliances are that you usually see with Ecodesign and energy labeling?
Yeah, now we are already in the Plant 4 project. So this has been a long series going since more than 10 years. And in the past project, we've seen that non-compliance is considered as documentation issue and issues on the physical product. So this is to be distinguished. And we've seen for several product groups that almost no documentation of any model is absolutely correct and complete. So, I mean, it's a very long documentation that is needed. And if there is some single issue wrong, then you could already consider that documentation non-compliant. So this is a bit the hurdle for the suppliers. And we can say that often it's obviously some missing knowledge or missing care. So we've, for example, sometimes seen that everything is more or less correct, but then the declaration of conformity has no date or a wrong date or no signature. So this is very easy to correct and is not affecting somehow the product, but still it's a non-compliance that has to be detected and enforced. So it would be very easy to overcome these issues. And we have often seen that the different types of values are mixed. So there are the measured values that are in the test report underlying the documentation of the product, the spaces for entering the market. Then we have the declared values that are in the technical documentation only visible for the market surveillance authorities. And then there are the published values that all the consumers see basically on energy labeling, energy label and product information sheet. And some often they're not fitting together, or they're not, suppliers do not understand that they are different. And so they are sometimes, or very often, the measured and the declared values, it's not clear what is what. Often test reports are not sent to the market surveillance authorities, but they are the basis actually for the whole documentation. So this is a very frequent issue leading to non-compliance of the documentation. And sometimes even instruction manuals were not sent. We assume that there are instruction manuals, but if they are not sent and could not be found somewhere, then this is also non-compliance. We have also checked web shops. That's a bit of a different thing, but also some suppliers might be dealers, and so it's also important that the display of the energy label and the product information sheet is correct. And there are quite some obligations in the regulations, and it's very easy to miss some of them. And so we've seen that actually almost no web shop is fully compliant, but showing that different compliance levels in member states shows that member states where there have been initiatives before, they're complying better. So that also shows that such initiatives help in the long term. Yeah, and to sum it up, errors in documentation are very often not bad will or try to cheat the consumers. It's just, yeah, regulations are complex and something has not been seen. Of course, there are other issues too that are not just on this basis, but many errors of this kind. And for the errors on the physical product, it's of course not so uniform. It's very specific which parameters are regulated on the product regulation. But generally, the compliance rate of the products themselves, that's better. But for some categories where we've been testing air conditioners in the last project, and there we saw more issues, more actually for the imported ones. So imports are also some kind of concern, and seeing that for many product groups regulated under Ecodesign and also energy labeling, there are very high numbers of imports that are not so regulated. So you can ship some products from China or wherever and coming to the EU and not really regulated or tested in many cases. So that's for sure a big concern, and we are trying to cover this in the Plan 4 more now, since this is a growing issue. And yeah, so the observation that still many non-compliances are mostly simply missing knowledge and care that led to the idea of the compliance services project.
Yes, so it's very good that we have this project that will try and clarify all of these very complicated requirements indeed. So Philippe, you already mentioned a bit that it was, that the energy label for heating was not shown to the consumer prior to the sales of any heating appliance. Is there anything else in the Ecodesign and Energy Labeling regulation where you think special attention might be needed? I mean, it's a very general question, I know, but anything that pops up in your mind that you think, okay, we need special attention for this, where, for example, the compliance service can help with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think that's, one of the tasks of the compliance service would be to help indeed with trying to make it easier for manufacturers to apply the regulations. So it could be in trying to simplify the information requirements or making them more straightforward. So when you receive the proposal pretty soon of the new legislation, please look at what is asked for manufacturers and make sure that everything is clear, because this is something that clearly will help to get a better rate of compliance. So this is a first point. Then in the legislation itself, of course, we have still the opportunity to improve the things, and so there is, as I said before, the possibility to focus more on the points we know are not respected. But for instance, if you just before it was said by Franz that there were some problems with the imports that were in proportion, for which in proportion there were less or more non-compliance issues. The fact that we have in this proposal third-party certification, as you shown before, could help in that, because it means that before entering the market, you need to certify your information and your products. So this could help. So there is a certain number of things we can do in a product regulation, but of course it cannot replace what the market surveillance has to do and the work of the member state in that.
That is clear, yes. And I'm asking a question to both of you, Franz and Philippe. So with the previous legislation, we had a guidance document for space and water heaters. Is there a plan either from you, Philippe, to make one, or is that something that the compliance services would rather look at? And I mean, if there is a plan like this, where should we, I mean, once things are more finalized, where should we as actors that need to comply with the legislation direct our questions towards? Is it to you, Philippe, or rather to you, Franz? I mean, you, Franz, meaning the compliance services project in that case, huh?
So who should take this question, Veerle?
Well, maybe first, Philippe, are you planning on doing it, or will that be more something that the compliance services will work on? Okay.
So in general, we tend to have guidance for regulation, especially for these ones they are relatively large regulation with a lot of products. And as you've shown before, many requirements, it's very likely that indeed there will be a guidance. We have not yet started working on that, but we certainly hope that this compliance project will help us with that. And so that you will be still working in this project when we have to do this guidance.
Okay, so if you have questions, we can direct them to you.
Yes.
Yes, very good. And Franz, what role will the compliance services project then play here? Because if I understood correctly, there is, on the one hand, you have this self-service tool where you can find information about what you explained, you have the easy information of how to comply with the legislation. But on the other side, you also have a sort of help desk where people can ask questions, right? Can you, can you elaborate a bit on this?
Yeah, I can explain a bit more in detail what services we are providing currently, of course, for tumble dryers, smartphones, tablets, and local space heaters. But when there are new regulations on space and water heating, it will be the same concept as well. And happy to work together then with the colleagues from the Commission to provide the services, but maybe also already in preparing the legal texts and maybe clarifying some things. Where from our experience from the other product groups, it seems that other ways of presenting the information would be easier to understand for the suppliers and dealers. That would be also great. Then we have afterwards less work, of course, with questions on what is what. But in principle, our survey on our project portal, our service portal, maybe some of you have already clicked on the link in the chat. We are providing structured guidelines covering actually the whole list of applications, but specifically for suppliers and dealers separately. So that's maybe a big difference to the regulation where it's of course everything together, But if you're a supplier dealer, you mainly want to know what your obligations are, what rights do you have in respect to the other stakeholder group. Then we have shorter downloadable PDFs with the most important points, so to get a brief overview, but there's not the whole list of obligations, of course, but you can at least have a good overview what you have to expect. Then we have webinars, and we also have the presentation of these webinars that have already been held on the web portal. And just to announce, we have a webinar for the eco-design of local space heaters on 5th of November at 2 p.m. And you can also register in the portal. If you go to the section on local space heaters, you will find this. And if you're interested in this, please register yourself. Yeah, and what more do we have? Lists of questions that were raised to us. We have been answering them together with the Commission colleagues. So it's sure that our understanding is also the Commission's understanding. That's actually something we are always doing. We are always checking our proposals of guidelines, etc., with the Commission. So we are on the safe side that it's not some interpretation of ourselves, but that's also the common understanding within the Commission. And we have an e-learning portal delivering the information in a more maybe nicer way or easier to digest way. And all this information, or most of the information for sure, all information for dealers, because they are more on the local languages, are provided in different languages, among them, for example, also German, French, Italian. And if all these materials do not help, we also have a help desk service. You will find the link. Maybe yeah, it's a very new service. It's still a bit hidden, but in the next days we will place it a bit more prominently. We have this help desk where when you say you didn't find any answer to your question that might be new, no one has asked it so far, then you can also ask us. If it's easy for us and clear for us to answer it, then you will get the answer in a few days. And if we have to ask back the Commission or maybe the EDCO, the Committee of the Market Surveillance Authorities, then yeah, it might take a bit longer, but in the end you will have a good and safe answer.
Thank you, Franz. That gives a very clear overview of what we can do with this website and where to find everything that we need to try and make sure that we are compliant in one go. Then maybe the elephant in the room, Philippe. I mean, Ecodesign and energy labeling for space and water heaters. I mean, we've have experienced a lot of delays in the late. I mean, the review has experienced a lot of delays in the last years. Obviously, I mean, the idea was to put it under the old Ecodesign framework with the requirements that would apply to the energy-related products. But the deadline for making this happen is going to expire at the end of 2026. And in that case, these reviews of the Ecodesign regulations for space and water heaters would fall under the new framework with a lot of new requirements coming up. I guess, I mean, that would mean that we would have to go back to the drawing board and, investigate what requirements under the new framework would apply. I mean, is there anything that you are doing to try and avoid that we reach that expiry date without having a regulation published or adopted?
Yes, indeed, you're true. So we have until the end of 26 to adopt the text, or for the Commission to adopt the text, or we have to go until the new legislative framework, the ESPR, and there are more requirements, and so we need a new study. I think that we are still okay to adopt before the 26, and what we are doing we are trying to indeed to escape this clause. So there is the Commission work program has been published this week for 2026, and you will see that there is an omnibus on products, and part of this omnibus could be indeed to try to modify this date and to put it 2 years later. So that's part of the thing that will be discussed in 26. So hopefully it come forward, but and hopefully it will not be necessary for this product lot, but only for others.
Exactly, because obviously we also represent solid fuel boilers, which will be more problematic, I guess, before. I know that's not a topic that you are dealing with directly, but this one has also had a lot of delays, and I don't see how that can be published before the end of 2026. So at least for that product group, it would be relevant to postpone this deadline. Then Franz, obviously, I mean, the whole intention of the compliance services was also to include space and water heaters, or at least a review of the space and water heaters regulations in the project, because it's such a complex, I mean, these are very complex legislations, covering a lot of products, dealing with a lot of energy savings, a lot of environmental impact. So it would have been nice to be able to cover it under that project. That's also the reason why we as an association joined the project. However, I mean, let's say that the regulations will be published in the course of 2026, towards the end maybe of 2026. Is there still time to cover it under the compliance services project? And is there anything that we can do if that would not be the case?
Yeah, well, of course, this is a difficult topic for us, keeping us busy for the last months already. And in the view of these delays, we're currently applying for project extension. Currently, the project end would be February 27, and it's clear if this is very towards the end to 26, then it would be difficult for us. So I cannot say anything about the outcome of this extension request, but let's hope. I think we have good arguments. And what else can we do? I mean, we could start before the final regulations are published in the official journal. If there are final drafts or agreed drafts within a regulatory committee, we could already prepare. Maybe at that time only it's not clear the dates of applicability, but all the other materials we could already provide or prepare at least and publish if the dates are known. But if there are some more delays, I don't know, that's very spoken into the future, but maybe there could then be a compliance services 2 project where we could cover these product groups. But for sure, these product groups are actually core product groups of our project. So we're still trying to fit this into the project timeline, and yeah, whatever we can do to make this sure we are doing.
Indeed. I guess when the new product, when the consultation will start, we could already have a look at the draft regulations to see if there are things that are not understandable, and then try to flag this as the compliance services to Philippe. That's maybe a first step that we can take, at least already for the space heating appliances. And then Philippe,
for sure.
Yeah. Philippe, one final question to you, and I think someone put it in the chat as well, because I think a lot of people would like to know. I hinted towards it already a couple of times, but do you have an idea on when the consultation will start for lot 1 and 2? Is it still October, or are we now moving into November? And what does that mean for the regulatory vote and the expert group meeting and the publication of the document?
Yes, well, indeed. So October starts to be a bit not very credible anymore, but so November should probably be okay. Yeah, and so it means that probably we would have the committee in March or something like that. But I think basically the project is quite well known, and what you presented is in fact very close to what will be in the final proposal. I also see in the question that there is a mention on the code of conduct. Yes, this is something that is proposed to be part of the label. So people that have products that are compliant with the code of conduct on demand response could show it on the label. There is also a question on B1 boiler. There is no change on that as compared to previous version. So in the end, I don't think there are big surprises there. It's more a question of discussing with member states, let's say, the parameters of all this, or if they want to make big changes, of course, they can still do. But yeah, to fine-tune the proposals before adoption.
Thank you. Here we come to the end of the discussions with the three of us, but I would like to open the floor also for other people who might have questions for you. And I see there are a couple already in the chat. I would like to ask you to raise your hand to ask your question in person. That will be a bit better. I mean, just to ensure that we have a little bit of changing of speakers, so you don't have to listen to me all the time. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I don't know, Jean-Pierre Campana, do you want to raise your question to, I guess it's for Philippe? If so, you can take the floor and ask it directly. If not, I can read it. All right, I will read it. Philippe, do the monitoring requirements of the energy consumption also apply to gas boiler appliances?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's for all the products in scope. So they should all be able to show what they supply and what they consume.
Thank you. So if I don't see anyone's hands raised, then I will just continue reading some of the questions that we have in the chat. I guess, I mean, the next question is for me. It's about the data that I showed. So there are no data of hybrids. In the data that I showed, indeed, I mean, I decided not to include them because there was no separate product category for hybrids in the previous, I mean, in the current legislations. There was a possibility to show that your product was a hybrid by an installer label, so a label where you combine the efficiency of the boiler and the heat pump, but there was no specific product group yet. So I considered that it would not be visible in the data. If anything, I mean, that the Ecodesign and energy labeling requirements would not be visible in the sales data for hybrids. We do have data for hybrids. I think, and Greta, sorry, I mean, if I may make a mistake here, please correct, but we have data for hybrids since 2015. And we're still trying to improve it today because it's not easy to collect those data, but we do have some figures there. If you are interested, you can always look in our heating market reports. We have published them over the years, and you can find them on the website for more information. Sorry, going down. Elizabeth Berger from VUC is asking how many products, and I think it's for you, Franz, is probably in view of the E-Plan project. So how many products, especially boilers and heat pumps, were tested physically in the lab, and what was the outcome there? Do you remember? Yeah, because it's been a while ago. Huh?
Yeah, that was E-Plan 1, and I was not part of E-Plan 1, so I don't have the report. I posted a link. I don't know. I just checked it if I could find the report, but it's just because these projects are not coordinated by us, so we're actually not publishing the results. That's ProSafe. It's just that the results were made available here, but now I don't find the reports. So that give me some time to check with ProSafe what I can share, because some of the results, they are confidential to the project team and ENER. but I'm sure there is some report or maybe some newsletters can be found. But I will check what we can say about this. And I mean, if it's based on water heaters, it's really very long time ago. But we have different types of heaters. So we had local space heaters in EHI 3, that is not so long time ago, and water heaters and storage tanks also. And in EHI 4, we will have the solid fuel local space heaters. But there are no results now, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. So Elisabeth, we will get back to you when we get more information from Franz on your question. Then I have Luc van Gemert. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. So the question here is if Ecodesign Lot 1 and 2 will move together, or if there is a time difference between the two Ecodesign lots. So the one for Lot 1, space heating, Lot 2, water heating. Are they going into consultation together or not? Philippe.
Until now, yes, they have been working in parallel. So I guess it will still be the case, but yeah.
Okay. That's good to hear, obviously, because there's lots of things that come back, at least for the combination heaters in both legislations. So it's good to hear that they will be dealt with together. That's it for the chat. I think there is more information on the code of conduct in the chat, and also a kind invitation that if you have any questions that about the code of conduct, that you can contact Lulia Papayanou. She's from the JRC in Petten, so she can give a bit more information about that if you are interested. And indeed, I apologize, on my slide with the overview of the products, I did not mention the code of conduct for smart appliances. It is something that is on our radar. Some of our members have signed it as well, but it's being expanded for now. Then I have a question from Valentina Dacunti. Can you confirm that the new legislation will cover hybrid heaters as a separate product category? It's for you, Philippe.
Sorry, what do you mean by a product category?
Will there be separate energy efficiency requirements for hybrids? Will there be a definition for hybrids?
So there will certainly be a definition and indication on the test method. Huh? For the separate category, we need to discuss that in a few months.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any more questions from the chat, or anyone who would like to raise their hand and ask a question? I don't see this is the case. So in that case, we can close a bit earlier. Yes, Holger, please go ahead.
We waited a little bit because I thought there would be many other questions. It's a topic what we discussed already at the EHI, and we just learned that a couple of the problems come with the documentation regarding the compliance. What about the labeling and the requirement that it has to be put in paper format? Is this still in the drafts and planned for Lot 1 and Lot 2, or will there be some relaxation and simplification that we only can give this information in electronic form?
Yeah, so it is my understanding that it would be part of the product package simplification package that we are planning for 26. So one of the things we indeed plan to do is to modify the energy labeling regulation on this specific point. So to have a digital way of having this label, but this is a discussion that the legislator has to have. But yeah, it will be part of this package.
Okay, but this means it's not included in the new drafts which we will get in the next days.
No, indeed, the new draft is still based on the existing legislation, so we cannot anticipate that for now.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Holger, and thanks, Philippe. Anyone else? This is your last chance to ask either Franz or Philippe a question. All right, doesn't seem to be the case. So thank you very much both to Philippe and Franz for joining us in this discussion on eco-design and compliance. It was interesting to hear your opinions, and good luck, Philippe, with the further continuation of the review, and good luck to you, Franz, with compliance services and e-client projects that you are in. I hope to speak soon. Thank you all for joining today. And I mean, if you would have any additional questions afterwards, you can always send it to me or to Zoe, who sent you the link for the invitation, and we will try to solve them together with Philippe and Franz. Have a nice day, have a nice weekend, and talk to you soon. Bye.